We are now moving over to our third presentation. And this is a joint presentation again from the Department or the Faculty of Arts and Humanities. And we are joined by lecturers Lynne Mafofo and Sibongile Philibane.
All right, thank you very much for the opportunity to have us here sharing our thoughts. Sibongile, are you here?
Good morning, everybody. It's a little dark here. Morning.
Good morning. You may go ahead.
All right, so our presentation is based on our experience and our students' experience. So we gave it a topic that you can see there on the screen. We are trying to appraise the blended teaching learning approach we used for the functional grammar module LCS 212. May we continue? All right, so in this course, during lockdown, we suffered a lot, as you all know, and we had to have a lot of adjustments. And the nature of the course actually requires a lot of face-to-face kind of interaction. And in 2021, and also part of this last semester, we had to improvise and behave as if we were on campus. Students were always ready to come back, and we had to try and cater to those needs. So what informed the structure of the course on the blended, I would call it a virtual blended learning platform, because in the absence of being on campus, everything is online, but still it had to be blended, hence that name virtual. So what informed it is a teaching and learning philosophy that I use mainly as the coordinator of the course. And also based on what I've learned, I've gone through training in 2020 and partly 2021. And so social constructivism has been the most favorable approach to implement for this course, and also understanding the motto that we were not supposed to leave anyone behind, especially the students in this case. We thought the social constructivism theory is more suitable, mixing that with the African humanistic approach, the Ubuntu approach, which promotes inclusivity, enables the students to share, especially in that module, which is a linguistic module. It's all about communication, and in particular, it also really teaches them to understand how we as human beings use communication and the kind of meanings that we produce every time we are interacting. So sharing cultures was very important also for the students to bring what us as the lecturers don't have, the linguistic baskets. We have very few, maybe one would speak 2 or 3 of these languages, but the rest will be just dominant in the classroom. So we thought this was going to be a very useful approach where students are able to also bring something. So it also encompasses the care, empathy, respect, and tolerance, considering the situation we're all in. So what we did, without spending much time on telling you what exactly our platform looked like, this is just an image of it that I've reproduced. So we try to use most of the tools that the ICAMFA offers, and as we were trained, we chose what we thought was useful for the students to create an interactive platform for these students. So as you can see here, we made iCamfa look like we were on campus. We had where we could put the lessons that would include several items, as you shall see later on. So briefly, that's how it looked like. We could group our students there, we could communicate with them. The tutors had full access to the platform at their level so that they could communicate with the students, set meetings, and so forth. All right, so to start with, we had live lectures last semester and also 2021, which is, I think, what brought us here. So I'll talk more about the 2021 one. So we had live lectures on Zoom platform. Previously, we had tried to use the big blue button, but it was quite slow when we had a big class. So for lectures, we moved to Zoom, and we had about 40 to 50% attendance on that platform. We didn't encounter any glitches. Students were fully available, and I would like to think most of them now had laptops and we had access to data that the university provided. So most of them who could attend did that, and when we were there, we didn't have any glitches. We recorded the lectures and uploaded them under the lesson tools together with the slides in PDF forms that they could download later. We also shared with them the link, the Zoom link to access more versions, including the interactive chats that would have with those students. So in those live lectures, the structure, the setting was I would teach as the main lecturer. I have Miss Philibane Sibongile here as the assistant. She managed the chats, so that way we had all our students able to comment, to ask questions either in chat or be able to speak when they could. In most cases, those who chatted, who used the chat would cite maybe home environment that was not so favorable, so they didn't want to make noise and they opted to chat, and those who could speak were able to do that. So the lectures were as good as we were on campus, except that one. So, and there you see students' experiences. We asked questions afterwards, how they felt, whether it was useful, and these are some of their responses. On this question, we didn't have negative comments, not even the ones where students would say, I didn't have data or what, as they used to when we started in lockdown. But sometimes maybe internet connection and load shedding were some of the problems they had. And in terms of lecture material, we all really gave them everything that we thought was necessary. So as you can see there, these are some of the resources that we had. So in that question there, we were asking them what they found useful. We had the PDF version of the lectures, we had the videos and audio formats which they could access. So we wanted to know what was more useful, and the PDFs were the most useful and accessible according to them. Maybe some of the students didn't see the need to download the video or audio after attending the lessons, but they were all there on the Canva. Then in terms of, so we distributed the information like that. It was all accessible to them. And dissemination, as I've indicated, we were fully there on the Canva and also on Zoom as the supporting platform. We asked also whether they managed to download the learning materials that they needed. And in most cases, as you can see, 72% were able to do that. And only about 26% downloaded 3/4 of the material, but 76.6 downloaded all of them. Then we also had a reader as a resource. Normally we would sell this reader when we're on campus, and a lot of students will not have it, or they will rely on previous students to give it to them. But in this case, we put the whole reader on the campus, so every student had access to it. And most of them, as you can see there, indicated that it was useful according to the results that you can see there. Okay,
We have
next.
1 minute left.
Oh
Thanks.
my goodness. Next.
We have 1 minute left. I think we're cutting into borrowed time here. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm going to be able to cover all of this in 1 minute.
Okay,
It's
let's
fine.
move
Go ahead, Sibongile.
Okay, so with regards to tutorials and tasks, so we mainly use the big blue button on the Canva, but at times it would fail. So we would rely on Zoom and Google Meet as a backup. So our tutors will have that ready just in case the big blue button didn't work out. They also use their WhatsApp for consultation, mainly for consultation amongst students and the tutors themselves. We as lecturers use our emails as a consultation, sort of a pseudo room that we used. So the students would consult anytime, and whenever we had time, would respond to them. So the tasks themselves actually did those outside the classroom, outside the virtual classroom, and then they would revise them within the virtual classroom as they would when they were on campus. And each tutorial group actually had subgroups in it in which everybody would work as a collaborative, work towards the same goal. So the tutor would just be the facilitator, and everybody in the group would just select one person to present back the work. And then they would have tutorial exercises that would have to be taken under tests and quizzes. So yeah, next slide. Do we still have time or? All right. So, okay. This has to do with our experiences regarding the teaching methods and modalities that we used. So we think the WhatsApp worked out well, mostly for our students, because they were able to communicate amongst themselves, and they were able to reach out. Say, for instance, if you were struggling with a problem and then somebody responded immediately, so they actually appreciated that. And the big blue button was mostly fine. And I think they actually liked the fact that it was free or cheaper than Zoom and Google Meet. And the students participated well. Every student had a role to play in the interaction, and they actually loved being there. So yeah, next slide, or do we give up now? Okay, so the students' experiences. So they mentioned that, okay, these are taken directly from our course evaluation form. So I'm just gonna summarize whatever they say. So the students actually, they found the tools useful. They encountered no problems. Most of them actually, they preferred the WhatsApp group over the big blue button. And okay, so okay, so disadvantages. Okay, this is with regards to working in groups. So the advantages were that working in a group, that they got to share ideas and brainstorm. They got to work with different people. They got exposed to different ideas, ways of thinking of things. They found the work to be less intimidating when they were working towards it as a group, as a collective, instead of just one person. And disadvantages. Some people mentioned that other group members weren't exactly putting in as much work as they were. And some people mentioned that, okay, some of them like to work slow and others like to work fast, and then they felt under pressure to keep up with the rest of the group when they couldn't. And at times you find that other group members would actually take too long to submit their portion of the group work to the group, and the group already had submitted the entire project by the time they do so. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so here, these are snippets that are taken directly from the course evaluation. So some of the questions we asked them, such as question 22, was that, do you think you were given enough time to submit your work? As you can see here, most said yes, and Some said maybe, and an insignificant number said no. I think that's 13.5. So yeah, it depends on the person because this is a highly subjective question. So okay, same as did you enjoy the module? Also highly subjective, but mostly people enjoyed the module. They enjoyed working amongst themselves, amongst the team, with their tutors, with us. And then the last one, we asked them which of the assessments they found most difficult. Again, highly subjective. So most students actually pick assignment 3, if I'm not mistaken. My screen's a little blurry, so I think that's assignment 3 as the most challenging assignment they had. Okay, next slide.
Okay. Is this the
Um,
last one? Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, yes, that would be Dr. Mafofo's.
Yes, so thank you very much for listening to us. So really, just to sum up, we have so much to say in a short time. We think that as we go back to campus, in eCampa, particularly for this 212 module, is well developed and is a good archive. Tutorial exercises could actually remain online. They used to happen in the class where we didn't have enough time to finish, and our time now is 50 minutes, which is not enough to have everything done. And we would like to keep the online tools to complement the face-to-face lectures and tutorials, and also be able to track the students. But in that regard, also students would still need data. So I'm not sure if the university will still continue providing that when they're off campus. Otherwise, in a nutshell, during lockdown, we managed to improve our campus site, the online material, and new ways of effectively engaging with students outside the classroom, and offer well-structured self-study material, which we have on eCampa. And most of the students in this course completed and passed the module, and they were active throughout as compared to when they're on campus. We would have a lot of them having zeros for tutorials, but in this case, it was not the same. So it was hard work and yet time consuming, considering what we were doing and all the other tasks. But we did not leave any student behind. So thank you very much.